Sweeta here from Bindaas Bollywood. Today we have a very special guest. It's the founder of Bindaas Bollywood. It's Hithanjanee Yatawara herself. Say hello.
Hi.
I'm
Hi,
so
everyone.
excited. Hello. I'm so excited to be interviewing you today and just getting your intake on everything dance related, maybe a little bit of personal life, etc.
No, that's thank you so much. It's for interviewing me. I can't talk English today. Most of you already know that, but just excuse the croaky voice because I'm not 100% today. But just so whoever's watching or listening this, I'm so sorry this is delayed because all of our teachers' podcasts were done many months ago. I think we wrapped them up about 4 or 5 months ago, and a couple of fans and supporters who've been following our socials have been messaging asking when's Hits One coming out. So it's coming out very soon. So here it is. Thank you so much, Shweta, for taking the time to do this.
Of course, anytime. And the longer the wait, the better the podcast usually is. So keep watching, guys. It's going to be a good one. So let's get straight into it. A question that I have myself and one of the students asked you as well is, when did you start Bindas Dance Company and who and what inspired you?
Ooh. So it's been a while. Well, I started Bindas around 2006, so it's been almost 15 years. So it's been quite a long time. And honestly, I would say that inspiration for that, I accidentally fell into dancing. So I was doing an interview yesterday, someone was interviewing me, and they asked a similar question. And I basically explained that I fell into dancing accidentally in the sense that our final year exams for uni, everyone was stressed, as you would know. So we'd stay up late studying at the labs which weren't even ours. But we would all study together. Study meaning we'd do 2 hours of study and 2-3 hours of just chilling. And every time we'd feel extra stressed during a certain topic we were studying, we'll all just get up and randomly dance. Just to get it out of our system and just to feel good as well and just get that energy back and not feel sleepy and mundane. And I remember one of our friends, so one of my really close friends, Sadish, he was there in and out of that study session, and he actually walked past and he said, wow, you guys are not that bad. Why don't you enter this competition? It was an inter-uni dance comp. And we're like, no, we're just mucking around. We're having fun. And he said, no, there's cash involved, cash prizes. And as soon as everyone heard that word, we're like, oh, yeah, we're all uni students. We can use the extra cash. So honestly, we just did it for fun. We ended up coming second. So we did get second prize. And the reason I'm explaining this is at that actual show, there were so many talented people, so many other different people from various universities across Melbourne. And they were so talented, and we were so shocked that we'd won the second prize because we made sure to include lots of different songs, not just Bollywood, Tollywood songs, Collywood songs. So a lot of Tamil songs, a lot of Sinhalese songs, some folk songs, some hip hop, R&B, and Latin as well. And we all had so much fun doing it. We weren't even expecting to win first, second, or third. And the good thing is, when people saw us at that event, they were so happy and pleased with our performance. They actually said, look, can we book you guys for our wedding, our birthdays, etc. So it basically started as a backyard hobby. So from then, people started booking us. And all of us at the time, as soon as we finished uni, we went into the workforce. So we all had full-time jobs. So dancing was always a side hustle or a hobby. And then eventually I realized how passionate I was about it. And I think the main thing was, when you're together with the right people, and when you're connecting with those people as well, you have that sense of belonging and that sense of friendship and community, and that you all understand each other regardless of what background you're from, just through that music and movement. And it was so beautiful. I wanted to keep that feeling going for as long as I could. And also, I think because of that sense of belonging, I really wanted to create a place where like people could come to these classes and events and just feel like they belonged as well, not that they were just enjoying the entertainment and connecting to us and seeing something pretty or nice and modern, but they would also be able to tap into that culture. So my whole aim of starting classes eventually was really so, especially children and adults, is living in a Western country when we're from South Asian backgrounds, it's hard to find something cultural that doesn't drain you either. as bad as that sounds, we all love our culture, we all love our heritage, but I think we were all dragged to certain things by our parents growing up. And half the time we used to fall asleep or just complain. But as you get older, you start appreciating your heritage and you want to be around similar people. I mean, not all the time, I guess, but you want to be able to tap into that culture. So that was really what inspired me. And then, yeah, basically, I cut down work over the years from full-time to part-time to casual and increased dancing. So that way, since the last 5 years, I think, 5.5, I've been doing the Bindaas Bollywood dance company full-time. So it's good because I get to dance with lovely people like you guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I actually wanted to add as well that ever since I've joined Bindas, I've always noticed that sense of community and that sense of camaraderie when we're dancing, both in performances and in the studio. And I think like that's one of the most inspiring and distinct aspects of Bindaas Bollywood that has just kept me with the company for the longest time. Like here I am interstate and I'm like thinking about when I can fly down for like future concerts, etc., so I can be with you guys. Like Hith has always created this environment of like total acceptance and love for whoever, whenever. And I think that that has carried on to my personal life. And I'm sure all the dancers agree. So I would definitely agree with that. And in terms of cutting back on your full-time job and making dancing your full-time job, I think that's such an inspirational thing for the arts industry. I think we need more people who are inspired by this very story to do the same in their own lives and follow the same life trajectory. Sometimes, like for many people, including yourself, this could have just been an idea that popped into your head and then sat to the back of your head and something you never addressed again. But the fact that you readdressed it, hinged at that dream and continued forward and established such a big company, it's just you should be very proud. And I think like the concept of like, you know, being around like-minded people, I think there's a quote that says like you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And I remember starting Bindas and I was just so like unsure about how to reconnect with my culture, but knew that I wanted to reconnect with, you know, like people who had similar interests in terms of like Indian culture, Asian culture, Sri Lankan culture, just Asian culture in general, South Asian culture. And Bindas gave me that outlet. So thank you so much for doing that. It's me and several other people. So.
Oh, please, honestly, don't thank, because a team is a team because of the people in it and everyone's contributions. Like, honestly, I'm so thankful. And it hasn't been easy. There's been so many ups and downs. There's been so many heartaches and failures, but you learn from that. There's been people that have come and gone, and you learn from every experience, honestly. It's never perfection, but I think the people that travel together on the same path, especially for dance, and if you're like-minded and if you give your 100% discipline, effort and respect, like those people will always stick with you. Yeah,
definitely. I completely agree. Now, anyone who knows Hith knows that she's so talented. She barely ever needs to do anything in terms of like being taught anything. Please. So I know this question, I know the answer to this question, but for the audience, could you please explain, did you dance growing up? If yes or no?
Hell no, actually.
Can you explain how you learned, please? Because I'm interested.
No, honestly, I did not dance growing up. So in a nutshell, I'll because some of my other students had asked this, and I forgot to actually, because they asked so many questions for this podcast as well. Some people asked about where I was born and did I do dancing in Sri Lanka, etc. So just in a quick nutshell, so for those of you that asked that question, I was born in Sri Lanka. I didn't do any dancing there. So I went to school for about 1.5 years there. So I was only 6, almost 7 when I came to Australia. So no dancing experience in Sri Lanka at all, only because I think my parents were very, very busy people. So mum was a doctor. Dad was originally in the police, and then he was such a clean cop that he got promoted to being the Prime Minister's bodyguard. So he was always off with the Prime Minister somewhere. So there was really no one and not much time for me and my sister and I to do many extracurricular activities apart from tuition. as all, brown kids do.
You
So
and every
apart
other
from
South
the
Asian family.
yeah, exactly. So we spent a lot of time with our grandparents and cousins who were much older than us. So they would help to look after us as well. Because of that, I never learnt any formal dancing in Sri Lanka. Even after coming to Melbourne, I never really learnt any proper dancing until I was about 22, 23. So I was a late bloomer. As I said, I got thrown into dancing accidentally, and it was just a lot of fun. Later on, it was only after I actually started Bindaas Bollywood. So I'm basically a self-taught dancer, 80%. So even when the team and we were doing events initially at the initial stages of Bindaas, it was all like just friends contributing and doing the choreography, and we just practice and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. Practice makes perfect, as you know. So it was only years after that I did 4 years training of Latin with Saskia, who you know as well, beautiful German choreographer. She actually choreographed that recent video that was shot at Great Ocean Road, for those of you that are interested. So she was my Latin teacher, which was great because for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been teaching basic Latin as well. Apart from that, I've done a couple of hip hop classes, 1 or 2 Bharatanatyam classes, but I never actually did anything formally. Last couple of months, I've been taking Bolly Kathak at Studio J. They're another brilliant Bollywood dance crew, and they do such versatile training as well. So that's something which I'm really proud of because I can see the improvements. But yeah, that's a long answer. But to answer the question, no, I did not dance growing up at all because of XYZ.
That's incredible. And to see that you are so self-taught, and the fact that you're able to incorporate several different styles from India, Sri Lanka, many other South Asian countries, including Latin, some type of Latin. Like, it's such an eye-opening experience because, like, I've come to certain classes and I'm like, I've never done like any kind of Tamil song. I've never done like the Tollywood, Collywood kind of thing. But then Hith is there like busting it down, and it's so awesome to see because it's so great.
How have you never done like Tamil songs? Your background as well.
I know, but I've done a lot of Hindi because, like, I think in Indian culture, like, we all gravitate towards the Hindi, like, item songs, for lack of the better word. And we don't spend a lot of time doing Hollywood and Tollywood, which is so beautiful as well. So being a self-taught dancer, you've done extremely well for yourself. And
no, I mean, I have to be very thankful to the teachers that are a part of Bindaas Bollywood as well, like yourself. I've learned so much from you, so much from Chelsea, so much from Anil and Kunal and Sachin, Nikita, Emily Casey, like even Aditi when she used to teach, like every single teacher that's come in and out of Bindaas, even all the guest teachers that we hire. It's so incredible learning, because I think just as an artist, it doesn't matter whether you're a student, you're a performer or a teacher, you're constantly learning and you should never stop learning. I got asked yesterday in my other interview, the person asked, like, how do you deal with, being a successful entrepreneurial businesswoman? And I was like, holy shit, like, I didn't even think of it like that, because success and learning are very similar, as in it's not a destination, you're constantly learning and you can't evolve, you cannot grow, and you can't develop more unless you have the contributions of other people that you can learn from. So thank you so much to like you guys, because I think Bindaas has only evolved and become more and more successful because of wonderful teachers like you. Like, I'm not the only teacher that teaches at Bindaas, and which is good, because that's what our students and fans love as well, that versatility. Is that a word? Sorry, bad English day. I'm going to use my brown excuse and say I don't speak English well. It is my second language.
No, versatility is a word, and I completely agree. I think, like, you've always given Bindaas this open avenue for growth. Like, I remember starting off at Bindaas as a performer, and I was like, I really love dancing. I really enjoy performing. And, like, a few months later, like, I approached you with a choreography and you're like, teach it. And, like, I think it's so great that you like recognize like talent where you see it and like give the opportunity for people to grow, because a lot of dance companies, I think, like they follow different like like methods of operation, and that's awesome and that's incredible and that works for everyone in different ways. But one of the unique things that I like about Bindas is the fact that you're able to grow even if you start as a just as a student in a class. And like one of the first things you say to students is we do have performance group. If you are interested, please express your interest and we'll go from there. But like I like that you always put forward that step for growth. That's why your company continues to grow and it will always be huge.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great incentive for everyone. And to be honest, not every single person gets offered teaching. So, I mean, you guys that are teachers in the company, you have that amazing knack for creating movements and creating that story and just the whole fact of storytelling through movement and making it stage presentable or even studio presentable or just living room presentable. So whatever it is, it's not just about the choreography. You have to have that knack for teaching, like those good communication skills, that ability to care and nurture your students regardless of what ability they're at and what age they're at and what body structure they have. Because I know a lot of dance companies do a lot of body shaming, and you know what, that's their business. But I think that I'm always willing to offer opportunities given that other people meet me halfway and work hard. And I mean, we don't just throw teachers into the deep end. Like, for example, Sneha and Krishi, they're our assistant teachers. They're both teenagers. They're roughly around the same age, 16 to 17. And so they're called assistant teachers because they're going through that training period where they can develop the skills. But you guys already had that because you've, done certain jobs or been through uni where you've already had that opportunity to develop those skills. But yeah, I mean, there's always chances for everyone. And I think it's good to, we have so many talented people. Why not share? Why not share everything?
Completely agree with you. Now you touched on the concept of body shaming, etc. Is that something that you're comfortable delving into?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really fucked up, but sorry, whoever's watching this, obviously I'm going to be myself, which means I swear a lot, and I've been toning it down for the last 10 minutes. So continue.
Okay. I would like you, if you feel comfortable, to touch on the concept of body positivity and fat phobia and how it haunts the dance industry and what you are doing actively to try and stop it.
Yeah, look, I think, just the only way I can sum it up in a nutshell is what I said before. It's completely fucked up. It's so screwed up to the point where, you have issues where dancers they're already under so much pressure to learn choreography, to have a perfect memory, perfect posture, perfect balance, perfect teamwork, perfect expression, perfect skin. But when it comes to body structure, I think there's so much shaming in the industry. And it's not just, obviously, it's across the board. It's not just the Bollywood industry. It is the global dance industry. If you're not a certain, height and size, you miss out on a lot of opportunities. And I think that is it's just so cruel because you have some of the most talented dancers, whether they're female, male, or any other gender. They need to be given opportunities and to be able to express themselves through their art form, regardless of their body structure. And I think what I've tried to do with Bindas is just make it a very inclusive environment where anyone is welcome, regardless of their skin color, their religious beliefs, their sexual orientation, and especially their body structure. I've literally had people say to me, even some people that I'm friends with, they've looked at my videos and they've said, how come you have this person? Why don't you just get people that all look, like you guys, etc.? And I said to them, bro, have you freaking seen my little Nutella belly? I don't have a perfect body. None of the dancers do. I mean, you're a freaking goddess. You look amazing. But at the same time, like, there's always things that we can improve mentally, emotionally, physically, right? And body shaming in the dance industry is such a big issue. And it again leads to so many other things that I think managers of dance schools and choreographers, maybe they're aware of it or maybe they sweep it under the rug, but things like bulimia, anorexia, just you know, that relationship with food that's regardless of whether you're male or female that some people have when they're a dancer. And it's just that effect on the mental health of dancers, because you could be an absolutely brilliant dancer regardless of your body type. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Bindas. Like, we stand by the meaning of Bindas, which is literally carefree, because we welcome everyone with love. And we want to have people of different backgrounds, different cultures, and different body types, because that is the reality of the world. It's not about what some influencer looks like on Instagram that's highly photoshopped and highly edited. You know, we are all real people with real talent. And I think it's very, very detrimental to mental health when the industry really pushes. And it's been like that, I think, for hundreds of years. And I think it really started with specific dance styles where you're expected to have that ballerina figure. I know of so many dancers that have missed out on amazing opportunities for national and global events because of their body structure. And you know what? They've all gone on to do absolutely amazing things because they've believed in themselves. They don't believe that their body structure is a flaw, regardless of what the industry has tried to teach them.
I agree. And I think now more than ever, there are more movements related to fat phobia and how it's so detrimental to our social fabric. Body type, body structure should not be a one size fits all, or like one thing for everyone. We're all individuals for a reason. There is no need to body shame and make someone look identical for any good reason. There really isn't. I think the beauty of having body positivity and body acceptance is you're actually working towards a better mental health for your entire dance group. As someone who has gone to other dance schools myself, I have personally experienced how horrible it can be. I've seen girls drop 15 kilos in the span of 8 weeks, and it's not in a healthy way either. And you see like the foundation as to like how that originated, and it's almost always got to do with body shaming, telling people to drop down like sizes in clothing. Ultimately, if I wear this dress, no one knows the size of this dress except for me. Why does it matter to the dance industry so much? Not just the dance industry, society in general. I think slowly, it's really beautiful to see people, we're slowly moving away from this like one body type is the most accepted and loved body type for all, and we're actually moving towards a concept whereby we're accepting all bodies, and we're accepting everyone to look beautiful no matter how they look, because ultimately physical appearance is only one aspect of you as a human being. We're so much more to ourselves than just our physical self.
Exactly.
You always emphasize that in the concept of like trying to educate people on like the flaws of wearing too much makeup all the time on your face and how it can be bad.
I'm so sorry.
No, in a good way.
Yeah.
I think one of the few reasons I can walk out of my house without wearing makeup is because Hitha's always said to me, like, you know, you don't need foundation. You don't need foundation.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where I literally only wear concealer when I'm going to work, and that's it. And like, it's very hard to do that as a dance manager.
I think I'm so sorry for that. I know that's like, it's not even a rule. It's something I say to all the dancers, especially the little kids. I try and get it into their brain. I'm like, do not wear foundation ever, because by the time you're 30, your skin is going to look like a 30-year-old handbag. Like, for example, powder all the time. Like, regardless of what you do, big eyes, big lips, does not matter, but powder all the way. Because, I mean, that was always my mom's rule. And you've met my mom. She's 70 and she has the skin of a 20-year-old girl. And it's so beautiful. And I think one of the best compliments I ever get is when people compliment me on my skin. It's never about, oh my gosh, your dress looks great or your hair looks great or anything. It's always that skin. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably the best compliment you can give me. Apart from saying I'm a kind person, that's the number one. But physically, aesthetically, skin,
No, of course, when I first met Hith, I think that's like one of the first things I asked her. I'm like, how old are you? And she told me her age, and I was like, I literally thought you were 25. Like, and me and Alana, one of my good friends, we were just like spending there guessing like 25, 24, something like that. Anyway, you kept your skin beautifully.
No, I mean, it's all thanks to mum's advice, do this, do that, drink this, drink that. And but no, look, I mean, yeah, I turned 38 in a couple of days. So yay, 38 years old,
Amazing.
young, very young at heart. But yeah, hopefully this will come out just a couple of days before. So make sure you comment happy birthday for me.
Totally.
I'm such a big kid.
Now, what do you enjoy more, teaching or performing, and why?
I know who asked this question. Actually, two of my students, they always ask, and I always say to them, just wait until my podcast comes out. Honestly, I love both of them.
You have to choose one.
No, I know. It's like asking a parent, which one's your favorite child? They're never going to tell you. They'll say they both love both or all the same, but they don't. We all know we were parents' favorites. No.
I was parents' favorites.
Just kidding. Look, I love both of them, and there's so many beautiful aspects of both. So those of you listening that have a passion for dancing, or if you're interested in performing or teaching, I'm not saying take my advice, but at least just consider this, because it'll help you make decisions in the future as well. For me, I love performing, especially performing with the team more than solo performances, because you get that vibe, you get that energy from the audience when they appreciate what you do and what you put out, not because of the costumes we're wearing, but because of the energy between all of us as a team, as a squad on stage. When we exchange that energy with each other, it really resonates to the audience and they can see it. We had our first performance, a post-pandemic performance. So it's been about 10 months since we've actually performed in front of real humans instead of to a screen. And I remember so many people came up to us and say, we've missed seeing you guys perform, because that love between you guys is just incredible. And that is what I love about performing, just that squad love, that energy, and everything finally coming together, hours and hours and weeks and months of hard work. And you feel that energy between each other. And that's, I think, more than the actual visual of the show. Sorry, didn't say that properly. Like, that is much more important than the final visual product. No. But in terms of teaching, I would say that I love teaching more than performing. Just a teeny bit, only because I get to share that love with people who've never experienced that. So you get to share your choreography, of course, as a teacher, and your movements and your technique and your advice. But what I love about teaching is that you can literally change someone's life in one day, in 1 hour, or half an hour, if whatever the session length may be. Because some people, I know for myself as well, and when I interviewed all of you guys for our podcast as well, most of you said the same thing. Sometimes when we've had the worst day in our lives, we will rock up to a dance class, and that actually changes our perspective on our day, on that situation, on that life crisis, whatever that may be. And I love being able to do that for our people. When I say our people, I mean all of the students and all the other performers and all the other teachers, but especially when we go out to events and teach after a performance, you see people really just let loose. They let down their hair. They just let go of all their inhibitions. So you can really see someone's true self in that little 1 hour bracket, when they literally just leave at the door. When they come into the studio, they leave it all at the door. With their shoes, they leave their family problems, their personal issues, their work issues, every other inhibition they have about themselves. They literally strip it all and they come in and they're just themselves. And that's what I think, that little 2%, that's why I love teaching more, because you get to share that, because we've all been through that. And that's how we became dancers and teachers. And that's why we love continuing what we do, because, we love having that feeling constantly. It's almost like a drug. Not that I've ever taken any. Kids don't do drugs, but You get the drift of what I'm saying. We are addicted to that constant feeling. So I love sharing that. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think the euphoria of performing versus teaching is so different. It's almost, I can't even compare the two as much. But if I was to choose, I would probably agree with you. And I think it is because dancing is such an outlet for so many people. Like having that, like, that goal on Sunday, like Sunday I'm going to do this, like I'm going to go dancing. Like that's plays a part of your routine every day. And it's just so beautiful to have that as a part of your like daily life. And I personally completely agree with you on that because like you get to leave everything at the door and come and acquire knowledge. And I think that's one of the beautiful parts of teaching, like being able to pass on what you have created and seeing how it works on other people as well. I find it's like a very enjoyable thing to see how you can communicate something you've created to a whole group, and that tests your communication massively, like on such a big level.
And when you see a student progressing, regardless of age and ability, when you see them progress their skills, their ability to retain choreography, their ability to strengthen their muscles and just let go of everything and feel the emotions of the musicality, it's honestly just magic when you see that development. It's
Totally
so
agree.
beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. I completely agree. I completely agree. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, now that you've said that teaching is one of your favorites, what are some of the challenges you've experienced as a teacher?
Oh,
Actually, yeah, what are some challenges you've experienced overall, and focus on one particular challenge and how you managed it?
wow, there's been so many. As I said before, like when you're running a dance school, as with any job, there's always so many challenges. And like it's cliche to say that failures make you grow, but it literally does. Your failures and your hardships, how you get through it, how you deal with it, and how you carry yourself, it really does strengthen you in so many different ways. And I think there's been so many hardships and challenges, but I think one of the hardest things with teaching is when people don't take corrections on board and they take it personally. And I think when you're a child, that's okay, because sometimes you have to say things in a certain way to a child, not like you're sugarcoating it, but you just have to arrange the words so you don't hurt their feelings too much because they're children, they're still growing, and they don't have the same wisdom and experience as you do. So sometimes you need to explain it, with a little bit of honey instead. Yeah. But I think what's been the most difficult for me, and I think, you've seen things firsthand experience as well, and you've seen me deal with it. You've seen me break down over certain situations. And not many people get to hear or see me cry. I think I've had some instances where it's always about the trust and the betrayal of, and it's usually always people closest to you.
Yes.
And when you're running a business, especially a small business, that's so close to your heart. You're pouring your heart and soul, blood, sweat, tears, and time. That's my time away from my family and my personal life that I pour into, Bindaas Bollywood, which is my baby until I have my future children. It's and when we've had people deliberately go out of their way to cause trouble, and it's been heartbreaking because I think the hardest thing for me was placing trust in people out of obligation almost. Say, for example, they're related to me somehow, or they've hooked up with one of my friends, so they're automatically in the dance crew. And automatically meaning that trust is automatically expected. So there's been many a times when there's been trust betrayals, and you know what? All human beings make mistakes. None of us are perfect. I have many, many flaws, but I think what defines you as a good person and a not so kind person is your intention. If you're acting out of jealousy with the intent of actually hurting someone and hurting their business, that is truly beyond fucked up. Like, I cannot even think of a better statement to describe that. It is very, very cruel. And that's actually happened to me and a lot of other dance school managers and teachers, because that is the hardest thing about running a dance school, when you're hiring people or working with people or collaborating with people that truly break your heart, even after you've given them a great platform to succeed. And I don't want to go into too much detail with that, but I think that has been probably the hardest challenge for me, finding people who I can and cannot trust, because there is a structure in any dance school where you've got your students, then you've got your performing team, then you've got your teachers. So obviously you interact with your students in classes, but you're not going to spend social time with them much, apart from, company events and etc. But then with your performance team and your teaching team, you spend a lot more time with them and you become a dance family. That trust gets built up. And then I think one of my biggest problems is that I've overforgiven. I've had so many betrayals that have really made me question the quality of humanity in general. And I know that's a big statement, but just imagine some of the harshest things that someone can do to ruin another human being. We're talking about, 30-something-year-olds acting like 10-year-old mean girls. But I am very fortunate, though, that, life goes on, the show must go on. And naturally, as with life, same as in dance, toxic people, toxic relationships eventually get eliminated along the way, as hard as it is. And I think that is the hardest failure or challenge that I've faced, because there's always going to be income losses due to, pandemic. We lost months of income, months of paid gigs and classes, etc. All that can be recovered. But when someone actually wounds your heart and soul, that is probably the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Of course. And I think you said it in the most diplomatic and tasteful manner. I didn't expect any less. But it was, I think, I've been there for firsthand experiences where we've had some difficult personalities, and to see how they interact with the group and to see how their intentions are so malicious. It's quite perplexing to see. And I think you'd agree with me. I think because you are such a good human being, you would agree that it's just such a hard thing to witness, people trying to be negative and mean to others intentionally, because that should never happen to anyone ever. I mean, that's high school behavior, and it happens in high school because we're in a cage and we're forced to speak to people. But out in the real world, we are free human beings to do whatever we want whenever we want, and the last thing that we need is people trying to be malicious or rude or bitchy to each other, when really all we're trying to do is keep the peace and do what we love best. So I actually appreciate how much of a positive culture you've created at Bindas, because you've always put people up on that in a very in a very stern manner, to be hey, this is not what we're about. We're about positivity and happiness and goodness.
And that's it. I mean, it's basically bullying. And you know what? It's very common in the dance industry. It is so common in any dance company, regardless of the dance style, especially full-time dance school. You would know, because you've had a lot of experience at other dance companies as well. It is very common. And I think it's very common in any workplace, in any country. And it's very difficult, because as a person in a leadership position, I'm constantly having to deal with the different personalities. I mean, I have to deal with my own neurosis, but then I have to deal with so many other people as well. And we have, I think, just naturally, all of our teachers, all of our current teachers, we have that kindness and love in our heart, where we are accepting and we all go out of our way to help people. So I'm actually very, very thankful and grateful for the current team that we've had for the last few years, because everyone is just so full of love. And it's easy to create that positive environment when you're giving and receiving love equally, and there's no one acting out of, malicious thoughts and intentions, as you said. Because at the end of the day, anyone can say anything, but if your actions are kind, your intentions are what counts at the end of the day, whether you have good intentions or not. and that's what defines you. That is your integrity at the end of the day.
Completely agree, and you've said it beautifully as always. But yeah, no, I think as you're like you always say, in life goes on, the show must go on, and the bad people or the people who are just not for you, they get weeded out. They have to, otherwise, like we can't progress forward. And it's I'm really like, I love the team that we have at the moment. Everyone's so amazing, and like it's so easy. You come to class and you just feel so light and free, and it's just the best. Like I absolutely love Bindas.
So much love, honestly. It's one of our common hashtags. Like so much love. It's
so much love.
It literally makes everyone smile from ear to ear, no matter what has happened in our day.
Yeah, I completely agree. So next question. So the next question is, in terms of your hobbies, so other than dancing, what else do you enjoy doing and why?
I'm really lucky in the sense that, like my parents, I think I mentioned before, because of their jobs, they were so busy. They were workaholics. I'm like that by nature. So I'm a workaholic. So I'm very thankful that my hobbies are seasonal. So one of my hobbies are snowboarding. And the other one snorkeling. So it's good because they kind of fit around holiday time when we have a few weeks off dancing. But yeah, look, I love anything to do with nature. I'm the biggest beach girl ever. Not just because I was born in Sri Lanka and it's the most beautiful island, but I think in Australia we have so many amazing beaches and locations. I was just recently in Gold Coast with you, and I'm actually considering moving up there. So let's
see. Fingers, toes, everything crossed.
No, Bindas will continue, not to worry, whoever's listening to this. But yeah, look, I spend a lot of time outdoors. I love hiking. I love camping, and definitely snowboarding and snorkeling are the ones that are up there. But look, dancing does take up a lot of my time, but I'm just like anyone else. So thank you to the students who asked that question. But I brunch with my friends. I spend my family time. But, my circle's very small. If I actually bother to message you or catch up with you, that means that you are very much in here.
Likewise. I think I agree in the sense that whenever I have anything like happen in my life, good, bad, whatever, I'm like, it's like one of the first people I message. But in terms of hobbies, you have recently started CrossFit. So talk to us a little bit about that, how that's going for you, and is it going to supplement your dancing in any way?
Yes, so that's actually, so I have a bit of an addictive personality. So I did start CrossFit quite a few weeks ago, just at the start of summer. I think I did one session before visiting you, and then I've been regularly going every week. So I do one round of boot camp every year. So I used to go to RBT in Brunswick, but since due to life circumstances and I've moved to the city now, I've joined CrossFit because I know you recommended it because you're a big fan and you're so amazing at it as well. But it's great. I think, as a dancer or just anyone in general, you need to keep your health and fitness up. Just eating clean, being fit. CrossFit is absolutely amazing because it's pretty much like boot camp. So I do one round every year to kickstart my system. And when I said I have an addictive personality, I really get addicted to these things. So in a good way, because I love staying fit. I love how it makes me feel. I love seeing my body transform. And I got addicted to Bikram yoga as well. I just haven't been in a few months because of COVID. And that's another thing, because of the pandemic, I think everyone, especially whoever's lived in Melbourne, we were in lockdown for 9 months, except for that little break that we got in May, which was basically nothing. It was just, enough to go outside and see 1 or 2 parks for a couple of days. That's it. Because of that, everyone was either getting super fit doing home workouts, or majority of the population in Melbourne, we lost a lot of our fitness. Like for me, I lost a lot of my fitness. I gained 9 kilos. And it showed in photos, when I tried on my costumes, and I was extremely body conscious. When I was in Gold Coast, you've never seen me like that because I'm not someone who's body conscious. I get up on stage regardless of what I look like. I still put my makeup on, but I don't have a perfect body, and I'm proud of that as well. And I make sure to get up on stage every single day pre-COVID just to make sure and make people realize that you do not need a perfect body to be a successful dancer or a teacher. But the last couple of months have been difficult because I lost a lot of fitness, even though I was dancing from home, as opposed to dancing 3-4 hours every day. I was dancing 3 hours a week. So that's a huge difference. Because of my marriage breakdown with my ex-husband, I ate my feelings a lot. So as did a lot of people. So because you're working from home, the fridge and pantry are your best friends. So it took a lot of work, self-work, for me to get into that mentality of, I need to get back in shape, because I wasn't liking exactly how I felt about myself every time I looked in the mirror. And I wasn't so much body shaming myself. It was more that I actually felt my stamina level go down. I felt my fitness level go down. And you know that, yeah, I do eat my junk food and cakes and pizzas here and there, but most of the time I try and eat clean. I'm pretty disciplined with that, but I lost it all during the pandemic due to life circumstances as well. And it was very hard. And going back to that body image issue, the last couple of months, I would look at myself and I would think, oh my God, Hith, what did you what happened? Like, you let this happen to you. And, you know, you helped me a lot when I was in Gold Coast, because, you know, you made me realize that having a marriage breakdown after you've been with someone for 13 years it's okay to eat your feelings. So it's definitely okay. Yeah. And thank you so much for all that support.
Of course. And this is like a really vulnerable topic. And like, I think it's so beautiful that you're talking about it, because I think this is a concept that needs to be addressed a lot more. Weight gain, weight loss, any kind of fluctuations in weight, there is nothing wrong with that. It is life. Life happens, and you cannot sit there beating yourself up about a life issue, like something that in life that has happened has caused you to gain or lose weight. Life happens, and I think it's really important as human beings to like rise above all of those all that stigma associated with this, and like move forward in a way that's beneficial for our health. So yeah, if it is weight gain, don't focus on losing that weight. Focus on, is your fitness good? Is the weight gain for better? If it's weight loss, is that, again, ask the same questions. Is this better for my health? Is this going to impact my energy levels, etc.? Ultimately, you as a human being, you don't come up as a person with a digital radar saying how much you weigh. You come up as a physical self, and you need to be able to keep on top of your health for your own cardiovascular health, your mental health, and everything in between. The number on the scale is little to nothing for you. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you. No, thank you for asking. And I'm so sorry that was such a long answer to the CrossFit question. But the moral of the story was CrossFit has been amazing, because it has helped me regain that, not just my confidence, but the most important thing, I've regained that muscle strength and health, just physical health and emotional health, both. So I think Shweta highly recommends it, and I highly recommend it too. Just, you know, focus on eating healthy and getting fit, everyone, because that will make a substantial difference to mental health as well. We're not saying it's going to cure it, but it does do wonders.
Oh, definitely. Now that we're on the topic of mental health, moving on to some personal questions, which I think, again, need to be openly discussed, because if we don't discuss them, we're never going to move past stigma. Can you discuss what mental health means to you, and how you combat any existing mental health concerns or issues that you have from time to time?
Wow. I think I was hoping the mental health stigma would disappear by 2021, but it's so fucked up that it hasn't. And I think it's not just in any particular culture, it's just the global culture. And I'm so surprised that, you know, given the amazing mental health facilities and resources that we have in this day and age, people are still stigmatizing it. Mental health is just as important as your physical health. And I think growing up in a South Asian background, not so much my parents, but I know in our culture, it's overly stigmatized, because people generally tend to call it tension. You have tension. It's not mental health issues. So people don't actually dive into it a lot. But I think it's so important that you address mental health issues just as importantly as and as vigilantly as you do if you break your leg, or if you get an upset tummy, or if you get COVID. It's just as important, and it's so vital to your existence to be balanced, mentally and physically, emotionally. Look, I think rule number one, you've all seen the quote going around on Facebook and other socials, you know, before you diagnose yourself with depression or anxiety, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes. And that is so true, because that is the number one thing. And that's not to devalue other mental health issues, because a lot of us have mental health issues. I deal with anxiety, and I think backstory on that, I only developed it a couple of years ago, but I remember seeing my psych, and when we were even in marriage counseling, in one of my private sessions, the psych actually said to me, you wouldn't have all these conditions if you weren't dealing with the emotional issues that and the emotional abuse. So he bluntly said that to me. So that's what I mean. Make sure before Googling and diagnosing yourself, make sure that you are surrounded by people that are enriching your life. Like, no one's perfect, but make sure you're not in any abusive situations. And if you are, there are so many resources that you can reach out to. And if you don't feel safe reaching out to those professional resources, do contact a friend or a friend of a friend, or reach out. And I think you and I were talking about this just a little bit earlier, that how important it is just to check in on people, checking in on people. And, everything that happened during COVID, Black Lives Matter, to checking in on people, the things that we were constantly posting about, they weren't just a trend during the pandemic. Like, these are things we should be focusing on every single day. When was the last time you checked up on that friend that was going through XYZ? Or even if they haven't been through that, maybe they mentioned something to you a few weeks ago. When was the last time you checked up on them? I think we just don't do that enough, and we need to, I'm so sorry I don't want to trigger anything, but like, just the number of suicides are going up incredibly every single year. And because people are still stigmatizing mental health, people are not getting the help that they need. Like, there are resources, but some people don't know enough about them. They're not educated enough about them. Schools don't focus enough on that. Parents don't talk to their children enough about, certain topics, from everything from homosexuality to periods to how to treat a female, how to treat a male, what happens when you start being sexually active, everything. Like, I grew up in a South Asian household where my parents didn't openly talk to me about these things. They expected school teachers to take care of it, or etc. I wouldn't have made half the decisions and screw ups that I did in my life. I love my parents, but I think if they'd had more open and honest conversations with me and let me know what resources are available, even if they weren't willing to have those conversations with me, I think I wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes that I have in life.
I totally agree. The only way to increase awareness is to talk about things.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the pressure that people who have anxiety or depression actually experience is that self-pressure as well, that I'm not going to be fun enough to be around. For anyone who is listening, who is struggling with mental health issues, it is okay not to be okay. And the people that love you will be there for you, just to hold your hand when you cry. If anyone is telling you that you're not fun to be around because you're sad, eliminate that person from your life. If they say things like, just stop worrying about it.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a double high five, because that is just, I don't even know what else, like 100% true. Like, that is just a cruel thing to do. And you can actually tell a lot about a person's character and their personality if they're actually doing that.
Yeah.
It is very cruel.
Exactly. And I'm sure that whoever says those things, you know, has some more emotional and personal growth left for them, but that's not your issue. For your mental health, you need to cut those people out of your lives because that is just very toxic to you. And last but not least, reach out for help. You're not annoying people. Like, people want you there. People want to know you're okay. People want to know when you're not okay. And if they don't belong in your life. It is as simple as that. The one thing I read this book by Brené Brown. It's called The Power of Vulnerability. I used to feel so anxious and scared to talk about my emotions, but now people always talk to me and they're like, sweetie, like, you're so okay with being vulnerable about your emotions. And I'm like, yeah, because human beings, we're meant to feel, we're meant to experience emotions, and unless we openly talk about them with each other, with people around us, how are we going to eliminate the stigma associated with it?
Exactly.
Like, as someone who has anxiety herself and has suffered from low-grade depression, like, it is not a good place to be in. And those times, all you need is someone to hold your hand and just tell you that no matter what happens, everything's going to be okay. And if you're experiencing mental health issues, there are so many contacts that are there. Beyond Blue is a great resource. I would highly recommend taking a depression test. It's a very straightforward test on the internet. It doesn't just necessarily diagnose you with depression, but it says on what scale is your anxiety to depression. Is it very severe or mild? I think these are some of the first steps that you can take. And of course, last but not least, you should always seek help from a counselor or a psychologist. As someone who is a psychologist, has a psychologist background yourself, I think you can definitely shed some more light on how important it is to reach out.
No, definitely. Please, like, if at all, like, whoever's listening, you feel like you're at that point where there is no hope, at least reach out to us. If you don't feel comfortable reaching out to any friends or other services, and we will help you find those services as well. And I think, you know what, in my personal opinion, in terms of mental health, just everyone's general mental health, even if they don't have any diagnosed issues, I think it should be a mandatory law that everyone checks in with a psych at least every 3 to 6 months. I wish they made that a law, because it will completely destigmatize it. It will make things more accessible, and it will create a kinder world. I know I spent years and years and years, feeling ashamed and being shamed, being silenced, and just feeling guilty for what I was experiencing in terms of anxiety. And that's part of the problem, because people who've, grown up and they don't have a high level of, or even a standard level of emotional intelligence, they will tell you certain things to make you believe that you're unworthy. And it's absolutely not true. If you have anxiety or depression, you really need that amazing support network. And just, I'm going in a little bit deep here. Like, I know towards the middle of the year during the pandemic, when my life and my marriage literally crumbled, I know I was very suicidal, and that wasn't the first time in my life. And I recognized the signs enough to wake up one day and, sorry, I don't want to ruin my makeup. I recognized the signs to actually just wake up one day, and I made a WhatsApp group, and it was 5 of my closest friends, including one of my cousins. And I said to them, this is happening and this is how I'm feeling, and I don't want to live anymore. And I need you guys to make sure I get the fuck out of bed every day. I need you guys to do that for me. And they did. They made sure I ate. They made sure I got up. They made sure I brushed my teeth and washed my underwear, everything. Just the mundane stuff. Like, I mean, I do that anyway. I'm very hygienic. So parents, send your kids to my classes. I'm not an unhygienic person, but like, it's just those little things, like, and people checking up on you, checking in, making sure that you are still there and you're still clinging to that hope, because you do have a support network. Some people don't have that support network. So I was very grateful that I did, still am. And that's what gets me through every life situation, regardless of whether it's on a professional or a personal level. And if you don't have that support network, it's really about reaching out to anyone, but it's also everyone else's responsibility in your life as well. But yeah, rule number one, if you are surrounded by assholes, it's better to reach out to services, and trust me, you will not regret it.
No.
Because the person on the other side of the phone or the screen or the other side of the desk or the couch with you in your session, they know what they're talking about. They have dealt with this for years and years, and they've got years of wisdom, experience, and knowledge.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable about that and talking about a first-hand experience that you had. I know it was a horrible time in your life, and being one of your best friends, like I have, like honestly was with you during all of that, and I saw it all go down, and you were such an inspirational and beautiful person, and I am so happy you're in this world because you make this world better. And that goes out to anyone who's having any kind of suicidal thoughts. Like, everyone loves you and we want you in this world. You are needed, you are valued, and your presence is so important in this world. As someone who has experienced suicidal thoughts herself and has had numerous times where she's contemplated whether she should exist, I know firsthand, if I didn't have people like Hith in my life that I could say, I don't feel okay, I don't know if I would be here. So make sure you reach out to those people. You tell someone that you're contemplating, killing yourself, and actually make sure you reach out and voice that concern. And 90% of the time, people will be there for you because you are valued, you are needed, and everything in your life is important.
No, thank you so much, Reza. That's like beautifully said, because I know, like, even for all of our students and performers that are listening, but especially the younger generation students, I know a lot of them come and speak to us, regardless of whether they're under 10 or under 20 or under 30. I know some of them reach out to our teachers as well. Please keep doing that. And, parents, it's not taking anything away from you. It's just sometimes children feel like they need to speak to someone outside of their family as well. And just know that every single one of our teachers, like, we will always love and support and care, and we will make sure we take the appropriate steps if there is anything that is alarming as well.
Completely agree. And I'm glad we touched on that. Now, my timer just went off. Sorry, guys. That's what we are running towards the end of our time. So there is one last question. That I would like to ask. Please take your time answering it, because I think it's a really important concept that we need to address. Discuss the issue of colorism in the context of South Asian countries, and how do you see this, and what do you do actively to stop this?
It is such a major issue, and I'm going to answer this firstly with one sentence that I've said numerous times before. It is fucked up. It is so fucked up. Like, I cannot even, I would say the Bollywood, the Hindi film industry, even though I'm a Bollywood dance teacher, they are one of the main contributors to this amongst the South Asian culture. With all, I think, people who are in their maybe 20s and 30s, even people younger, hopefully not, hopefully times are changing, but there's always been that devaluing of a human depending on their skin color. Like, you need to be, if you're beautiful, you have fairer skin. If you're darker tone, or a medium or a darker tone as a South Asian, you're not as beautiful. And that is so screwed up, because you cannot value a human being on their appearance, especially their skin color. And I think that whole idea in South Asia, and especially in the movie industry, and all these aunties that go around gossiping, especially, that idea of colorism, like shaming someone because they're a different shade of brown to you. Boys who put advertisements on Shadi.com and in newspapers saying, looking for a fair girl. Oh, what the fuck is that? Like, seriously, like, what are you going to look at her face when you're in your grave? Like, I don't even understand that a human being, like, you cannot place a value on someone's character, their integrity, their values, depending on their skin color. And I think, honestly, like, aesthetically speaking, like, anyone of any shade is so like beautiful. Everyone has something beautiful about them, whether it's their eyes, whether it's their nose, whether it's their smile, whether it's their under armpits, whatever the hell it is, like everyone has something beautiful. And I think as a South Asian culture, we really need to speak about it more. Again, going back to all the other issues that we've touched on, it's really about getting the conversation going, because it causes like so many mental health issues and other image issues that, you know, a lot of women in particular feel like they're less worthy because of their skin tone. And especially in the dance industry, in the movie industry, in India as well, how often do you see a darker toned female lead?
Never. Never.
99.9% of the time you don't. And you know, that's why I hate actually watching Bollywood movies, typical ones. I watch some of them for the songs and the epic ones, but that's it. I don't agree with a lot of what happens in the industry. And number one thing is colorism. It is just a very cruel message to send, considering that 90% of the population do not have the same skin tone as all these movie actresses that have lightened their skin, they've bleached their skin. A lot of them go on to talk about colorism when they've been on ads for Fair and Lovely. Like, what the fuck is that? Seriously, it sends the wrong message to the younger generation. Honestly, we want to try and create a kinder world, and it's not happening with issues like this.
No. And the worst part about all of this is the fact that fairness creams are the most sold cosmetic product in all South Asian countries. Take a minute to think about that.
Yeah. Not even South Asian countries. I will tell you, where I go to get my extensions, it's a beautiful African shop, and they've got products from various different countries within the African continent. They import lots of amazing products. There is one whole section, Fair and Lovely. And I remember asking one of my best friends, she's Kenyan, and I said to her, babe, what the fuck is this? Like, honestly, and she said, African people are obsessed with having lighter skin. So it's not just in Asia, it's not just in South Asia. It's so many countries that have that. And same, I had a Brazilian co-worker when I was in the health industry, same, lightening soaps and the whole works. It's just degrading to any human, regardless of whether you're female or male.
I think as someone who has definitely used fairness creams till the age of 16, I know how horrible it is. And your skin condition is so bad after it too. It's absolutely horrible. What helped me stop using it, for anyone who is still using it out there, what helped me stop using it is this hierarchy of color where people have supposedly and socially placed white people at the top. It doesn't exist. It's socially created. It's man-made. It does not theoretically make any sense. If you think about colonization, generally speaking, happened from people who had lighter skin to the people who had darker skin. And that is why there has been this social hierarchy of dominance. And we continue to place white skin on a pedestal. If you think about all countries where there are people of darker skin tones, there has been some level of colonization from white countries, for lack of a better term. And that's what has instilled this notion of inferiority in people of color. And I think it's really important that we address these colorist issues and we actually fight against them. And when you hear someone who is speaking about their, insecurities with their skin tone, tell them that their concerns are valid, but their feelings are valid, that they are beautiful no matter what skin tone they are.
And ask yourself, do you really want to look like a colonizer that fucked up most countries? Seriously? They did so much damage. I'm not even going to get you started on white privilege and all the issues in terms of Black Lives Matter and South Asian Lives Matter. That's a whole different podcast, because it that is the root cause, and then it stems out to so many other problems. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's very important for our audience to hear from someone who has used those products and the mindset behind it. Because, you know, I think as a South Asian female, sometimes when I visit a family friend or even an extended relatives, not so much my parents, but one of the first things they'll be saying to me is, "Oh, beta, he got darker."
Mm.
And I'm like, you know what? Zero fucks given. I do not care what shade I am. I put up a post on Instagram on my story when I got back from Gold Coast, and I wrote 7 different shades of brown. And I literally was, when I got back from the Gold Coast, my face was different to my boobs, and my arms were different to my thighs. My knees were different to my calves. And you know what? Did not care at all. Like, the only thing I cared about was it actually burnt and I was in pain. But apart from that, do not worry about your skin tone. It does not define you as a human. And as I said before, do you really want to be compared to a colonizer?
No, I completely agree. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the most worst experiences in India that I had was when an auntie who hadn't seen me since I was 3 years old, she came up to me. I was, mind you, an 18-year-old girl who just finished exams, had horrible acne, and I was darker because it was summer in Melbourne. And as soon as she walked in, she's like, "Wow, this is your daughter? Oh, she's lost so much color. She has so much acne. She's not beautiful now. I'm so sorry about this." And I'm sitting here going, I'm like right here. And she's saying this in front of my mom. And when she left, I remember walking to the kitchen and bawling my eyes out. And I was like, maybe I should still use Fair and Lovely. And I was in such a bad mental headspace for so long. And this is why, like, these comments have literally stayed with me till my adult life, where I still look in the mirror sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't look good. And like, these comments haunt you so much. So people, if you are ever having any kind of like insecurities related to your skin complexion, please hit us up. Like, we're actually a company that constantly talks about this. We harp on about this because we know it's an issue in so many places. And like, in our situation, it is a very huge issue in South Asian countries, and we want to get to the bottom of it. And that's why you see people of all ethnicities in Bindas. We're not an exclusive company. And I think that's how the world should be.
No, 100%. No, thank you so much. And I think it's such an important message. And thank you for asking that question, because I think there are a lot of our students who constantly receive these comments as well, and they would be feeling exactly the same. So thank you.
That's okay. So we have come to the end of your podcast. I could sit here and talk to you about for hours and hours and hours about everything, because you're just such a conversational, beautiful person. Not a biased opinion, because you're one of my best friends, but this is like literally it. Is there anything you'd like to add prior to us?
Yeah, look, just one last thing. So for whoever is watching this or listening to it, especially if you're one of our students or supporters, just always keep in mind, at the end of the day, it's all about kindness. Like, just be consciously aware of your actions, inactions, and thoughts, regardless of your upbringing, whether you've grown up here or in a different country, regardless of all your beliefs. Like, just please keep in mind that always be kind to people, regardless of their race, of their skin color, of their religious belief, of their sexual preference, about their gender preference and what they choose to do in terms of that. Everything about their body structure. Let's get the fuck over bullying, and let's get the fuck over all these boundaries. Like, Bindas is about breaking boundaries and just constantly raising conversations, not just teaching kids, because as most of you know, yes, we teach and perform, but we also are a company, when we don't advertise this a lot, but all our supporters know, we run regular charity events. Every 2 to 3 months, we're running charity events for local and global causes. So make sure, just as a human, you're always doing your service, regardless of your religion or spiritual belief or whatever belief in the universe that you have. You should always be doing your service, and just be kind. And second thing, thank you so much, Swetha, for taking the time. I know you're all the way out in Gold Coast, and I know I tend to go off topic a lot. So thank you
No,
so much for taking the
thank
time
you.
to do this.
Thank you so much for ending the podcast in such a beautiful way. I couldn't have said it better myself. I love everyone who's watching this, and thank you once again, Heath. You're amazing.
Yay. All right, guys. Happy 2021. And wish